Paranormal evidence.
Tonight, see what truly exists inside the world of the paranormal. Join the discussion and review some of the best paranormal evidence captures from a wide variety of experienced and up-and-coming investigators. See and hear what they capture, where they captured it, and how they captured it. Right now on Entity Voices.
Paranormal evidence.
Live.
Good evening and welcome to Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. I'm Tony Rathman.
I'm Chris Allgood.
I am Audra Keeler.
I'm all by myself tonight.
Whoa.
I'm Ron.
I know the feeling, Ron. I know the feeling.
Yes, you do.
I'll represent the ladies.
All right.
And well.
That'll work. That'll work. All right. We have an amazing show for you tonight that I have been looking forward to for a while now. And I'm just going to state this off the top because some of the evidence we're going to reveal tonight is incredible. And our guests tonight are Satori Hawes and Cody DesBiens. And they are both paranormal investigators, and I believe part of TAPS. Obviously, Satori being the daughter of Jason Hawes. That was the original TAPS that you all know from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Nation. But these two have been doing some incredible things. And I think they both have been involved for like the last 10 years or so. I know Cody has. But we'll let them talk about that when we bring them on. But really excited about this show because one of the things that the paranormal needs is groundbreaking, because there's been a lot of stuck movement in what's being done and things that are just copied off of shows and reenacted over and over and over. These two, known as the Paranormal Couple, have been doing some very unique things, and we're going to get into some of that tonight. So let me first bring on Satori and Cody so everyone can say hello. Here they come. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for having us on.
Thank you for accepting. We greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
You know, one of the normal questions when we bring new guests on the show is I ask, how'd you get started? How'd you get involved? Although that question may be kind of self-answered, especially for you, Satori, but I'm going to let you guys answer anyway, because I want to hear your side. I want to hear how you got involved in it, how it led you up to everything that you're doing today, and then we'll get into some of the amazing stuff that you guys have been doing.
Wonderful. Ladies first.
Ladies first. All right. So yes, in that case, I guess that kind of answers itself. So I am the youngest daughter of Jason Hawes, who founded TAPS, the Atlantic Paranormal Society, in 1990. My dad started the team way before I was even born. I grew up always seeing my dad go to work, even before the show really took off. I was only about 4 years old when the show took off. So I just knew him going to work every day and helping people. It was kind of a hard topic to teach a child, a little child, but
sure.
I knew he was going to work and just helping people. So I wanted to dedicate my life to doing the same exact thing. So as soon as I was able to walk, I was trying to hold a flashlight and investigate my own.
That's awesome.
Doing everything I could to be like my dad. And as I got older, it started getting more serious. He was, letting me listen to evidence. He was giving me advice, taking me with him to cases and letting me just observe and see things like that. So as I got older, I was just so passionate about it. And I knew I was definitely my dad's mini me. And that's what kind of brought me to the field. It just excitement and kind of having that my entire life.
Yeah. And, I was, there's usually two types of people when you get into this field, people that have experiences and people that are just into it from pure interest. And I was definitely one that had an experience and grew up in an active house. I remember the big experience that's burned into my head was when I was about 8 years old, house I grew up in Massachusetts. I was an only child, lived with my parents on the second floor of this house. On the first floor lived my Italian-American grandparents who very religious, weren't really into, ghost stories and things like that. Very, respect that, of course. And but one night I wake up 8 years old and I don't feel well. I go into my parents' bedroom and I asked to spend the night. And I remember crawling in between my mom and dad and trying to fall asleep. About 15 minutes goes by. I opened my eyes up, couldn't fall asleep. And I see about 10 men circling the bed. They were going through the wall on the left side of the headboard, gliding around the bed, going through the wall on the right side of the headboard, and just kept floating around in a circle. Scared the heck out of me. I knew I'd never seen anything like this before. I remember seeing the television through one of their heads. Some were holding what looked like some sort of mask up to their face. They were all mumbling the same sound, which probably was, the door opening to my interest into, EVP work and things like that, just trying to record those voices and stuff like that. But it scared the heck out of me. I remember pulling the covers over my head and trying to go to sleep. I never saw that again. I definitely tried to. I would wait up at night trying to see. I would get up out of my room and peek into my parents' bedroom to see if I saw it standing there. And I never saw it again. But things that were happening in that house were making everybody turn their heads, including my grandparents, who didn't really believe in this stuff.
Wow.
Babysitting today. And we'd hear loud footsteps running up and down the halls upstairs, doors opening and closing. My grandfather would run up there, getting ready to fight somebody, thinking somebody had broken into the house.
Sure.
And nobody's there.
That's the Italian side.
That's it. Yeah. So that blew the door open. I started, researching paranormal, and that really got me interested in the whole investigative aspect of it. And then TV shows coming on television and stuff like that definitely, alerted me of the whole team part of investigating. I wanted to join a team. I think when I was 15 or 16, of course, very young. And, I started emailing teams just to, learn about the equipment. That's all I wanted to do is get a hands-on experience, have somebody show me this is what this does, and you can hold it and see what it does. And a lot of the teams that I emailed said no. I was just too young, which, I definitely respect now. But there was one team that would let me, just come in and observe stuff. And I was very thankful for that. That team ended up disbanding. I ended up meeting Ken DaCosta. He took me under his wing with Rise Up. And then a few years after that, I met the case manager for TAPS, and, they liked the way I work, and then talked to her father, and they let me in TAPS too. So now I'm still working with Rise Up and still working with TAPS.
And then he met me and he liked me.
Well, that was my next question, was how you guys met. So
Right.
I just answered that. But
Yeah.
what a great story from both sides. And yeah, you could not have learned from anyone better than Ken DaCosta, because just fantastic gentleman, so level-headed and so complete in the way that they investigate and debunk and everything in between. So really respect that. And
I want to say I love Cody's story because I think that is a trademark scenario for what we all know is fight or flight.
Yeah.
Right. That could have made someone never go near this stuff again, and he did the opposite. So that's awesome. Those are the types of passionate people we need doing this. And then just to Satori, I had the pleasure of meeting your dad for the first time at the New Jersey Para Unity Expo the night before, because the expo was so busy. I keep telling people he had a line to see him that was like if they opened up a DMV at Disneyland. So I got to talk to him the night before, and people see somebody on TV and they feel like they know them. They have an impression almost too much like they think they know somebody kind of thing. But for everybody watching, I'll say it. Could not have been a nicer, more down-to-earth, approachable, friendly, incredibly good representative for people who do what we do.
Oh,
My
thank you
opinion.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
You know,
Tell them.
let's talk about that for just a minute, because he literally opened the doors as far as television breaking into the paranormal, and it did a lot of really great things. And one of them I'm just going to throw off the top of my head is that it opened doors to allow people to discuss it. Because prior to that, most people kept those stories under their belt. They didn't share them.
Yep.
They were embarrassed to maybe talk about it or to discuss it with others. And let's face it, Ghost Hunters, one of the first shows, broke that barrier, got people interested, got them to discuss things that were occurring. And today, people openly talk about it. But I think that was definitely one of the huge positives from shows like Ghost Hunters hitting the airwaves.
Yeah, and the Cody said about his background too. The grandparents, that generational thing is not in any way, shape, or form, for the most part, based on empirical experience. It's all an inherited bias or what's taboo from what they were raised with. But when people like Taps and Jason, and when they went out there and started making it okay and making it intellectual, making it digestible, making it comprehensible, so it wasn't just ooh kind of stuff.
Right.
And that's technical, by the way. Ooh, kind of thing.
Technical term. For those of you watching, that was the technical term.
Yeah, you can look that up in Webster's dictionary. It made it a field. It made it a field. It was no longer a little interest hobby thing. It was it wasn't just like like role playing games or something. It became something tangible as a field.
Thank you so much. He would love to hear that. So thank you very much. It means a lot.
Hopefully he's watching if you're on.
Yeah.
Who knows? I might have to send him a text and say, "Hey, everybody's being all emotionally sappy towards you."
He messaged me the other day. He told me to email him, so I shot him off an email too. We were going to talk more after the Expo VIP party night, but like I said, he's so incredibly personal with the people, and is that it was like I knew the next day I had a better chance of meeting the Pope and going for popcorn. Both of which I've tried.
To piggyback what Ron said and what Tony's saying about your dad, I mean, Cody's over there going, can we quit talking about Satori's dad?
No, he was my dad's friend before he knew me, so he probably.
Well, this says something to Cody too. It's Jason Hawes opened the door. Before Jason, everybody just thought we were nuts. I mean, basically it was. And then when he came on board and had his TV show and showed everybody how we actually investigate, people started getting kind of grounded by it. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. They're not just crazy. They're not just out running looking for ghosts. He actually set the ground. He led the path for all of us investigators that are doing what we do today and created para-unity, basically, is what Jason did. And for Cody, for him to accept you into Taps, that is huge, man. You must be one hell of an investigator. I can't wait to see your evidence, man. And I can tell you right now, somebody that had experiences as a child that didn't run away from it like you did, I ran towards it. That is not just an investigative technique, man. You've got to have some kind of abilities to be able to see something like that, not run from it, and actually pick out the details and what you saw and remember the details of what you saw. That's fantastic, man. That says a lot for you.
Yep.
It is. It's incredible. And I think the work that they've done is going to get some exposure tonight with the clips that they've sent in. And, I know we could sit here and talk about the development of paranormal and paranormal shows and the influence her father has had on it, because there's no doubt he has. But I do want to get into what these two are doing, because, I saw a question come through. I think it was Carrie Hopper said, what advice do you have for new investigators coming up? And I'll let them answer that. But these two are perfect examples of who will take over the field when us older investigators eventually retire to our walkers and, can't be going up the broken steps anymore.
We can still investigate the first floor.
That's all right. We'll push you around.
We'll push you around. We'll be elevated.
All right, I'm going to hold you to that, because the day I'm like, I want to go. I want to go.
Tony's gonna have walkers with K2s on both handles.
Oh, absolutely.
Full
With a
spectrum
REM pod in the back.
Right.
That would be awesome, though. That would be awesome.
Wow. Well, I know as far as that question goes for new investigators coming in, what I can say is, so, when the whole pandemic hit, we really started pushing social media and especially TikTok, because that's a whole new generation of people. And it was interesting seeing the responses we would get on that platform, because everything was, all the responses we get were fear-based. And it just shows that on at least on a social media type of approach, the people that are paying attention to this are people that are, getting interested in the, negative side of the paranormal and the fear and jump scare type of thing. So what we've tried to do is, just try to step back and share what we do. And thankfully, people started listening and just show that, how we investigate and how it's not all scary and how you can perceive things differently than what they seem. So for new people getting into this, what I can say is, if you're really interested in the investigative portion, of course, there's two different types of people. There's people that really want to dive deep into the investigating and research and stuff like that. And if that's the case, find a team that's already established in your area. There's definitely thousands of them out there now. Find a team that's already have a foundation built, and without spending a lot of money, they already have all the equipment. Even if you just want to ask questions, send them an email, and I'm sure one person will get back to you at least. They're very willing on helping people and stuff like that. And if you're more of the thrill seeker type, there's definitely a lot of resources out there, books and websites. I believe Shadowlands is still out there, that website that shows you all the places you can go to legally without breaking into any places and stuff like that, because of course we never promote that.
Right.
But definitely, if you want to get involved, talk to people that have been around. And even some of the people that are on TV are very approachable. John Zaffis, and if you send her dad an email, he'll usually answer. And if he's available, or send us an email. We'll be happy to give any advice that we can. I'm sure Tony, you feel the same, and Chris, everybody else, send them an email and they'll give you some advice.
That's awesome.
To piggyback what Cody's saying, we've got Tony with Entity Voices that's in Arizona. We've got Ron that's up in New Jersey, and Audra and I are here in North Carolina. Anybody that ever wants to reach out to us, we'd be more than happy to work with you. We've got locations that we can go to. We've got tons of equipment we can show you how to use. We'd be more than happy to help you out. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Cody makes a great point. Learning from people who have done it before, and groups that, have equipment. They can teach you how to use it. You can determine what you like, what works for you. Those are the best ways to do it, because that group will keep you from breaking any of the rules you don't want to break, going to locations that you're trespassing. I mean, those just taint the paranormal world on the negative side, and we don't want to do that by any means. So learning from a group is great advice, and that's a very good way to get started. So I like the fact you said that, Cody.
And groups, it's a relationship. It's a relationship with several people. Just like if you go to an office, you're gonna jive with some people better than others. You got to find a group where it's cohesive for you and for them. So a group that promotes learning. There are groups that will say, "All right, we don't do that. You can't do this. We don't want that." You're doing this out of passion, so you don't want to be somewhere that's restrictive. So you got to find I think the right group too. I would say most of the people who do this are genuinely on the same page with wanting to learn, wanting to further what's going on. And then it's like Cody was saying too. It's kind of the watch pot thing. You want to move the field, but you do what you do. You do it with authenticity. You do it as a genuine interest, and then just out of that normal passion, things will unfold. But you can't do everything. Some people, if you're seeking the glory side of it or the thrill seek, that's not the brass ring. You run out of steam doing that.
Yeah. Good point. All right. With that being said, I am going to jump in.
Oh, geez.
To some of the clips. Now we're going to start with the audio ones, because they just get better as I go down the line here. But so let me share the screen here.
Okay.
And while you do that, shout out to not only all of our viewers, but also Steve and Katie Holte are watching. They're also contributors to this field with a level of brilliance that is not common with building the ghost boxes that they do. And we appreciate their support and their involvement in what we're doing.
That is very true. That is very true. Some excellent ITC builders with Steve and Katie Holte. They do great work, great builds. I'm gonna have to reshare that because I don't think I shared the audio. No, I didn't. Okay. All right. So the first one I'm going to play, is titled Massachusetts Private Residence. So would you like me to play it first and then we can talk about it, or do you want to give it an intro first and then play it?
Yeah, this one will go good with an intro. So, so this is it's kind of a sad story, but this was a TAPS case, and it was very fulfilling for the family after they heard this clip. So what happened here? We got this is a TAPS case, private residence in Massachusetts, and what happened was every case that we usually get a brief from the phone call interview that our case manager does with the client. That's the first step, and we sent that get that sent out through email. And we were alerted that they had lost a daughter at a young age, but they didn't believe that she was haunting the home. They believed that it was something else. They were seeing shadow people while she was still alive and didn't think it was her. So we get there, we sit around the table, they show us where the shadow person is, and being one of the tech people, I wanted to set up a full spectrum camera at this spot, which was at the bottom of the stairs. So I climbed all the way up to the top of the stairs. I'm setting up the camera, and everybody else is setting up their equipment throughout the house. And the case manager and another female investigator were having a conversation, just catching up on what they had done the previous week. So I wasn't really paying attention. Now, we were there, I believe, in October of 2015, and I wasn't really paying attention to what they said, but what caught my attention was I thought I heard one of them say, "Are you going to be there on September 10th?" And that caught my attention because why would we be booking something out a year in advance? So I stopped what I was doing. I turned and looked. I said, "What are you talking about?" And they had that blank stare on their face, like, know what's going. So they said, it wasn't us. And as I'm replaying in my head, I'm like, wow, it didn't really sound like them. So fast forward. So I had set a recorder up halfway up the stairs. I leave it going. Every time I go in, I always have a recorder that stays recording the whole time I'm there. I put this on the steps, and I knew that the recorder must have gotten this voice. So while that's happening, I'm reviewing the audio. They yell down to the family, does September 10th mean anything to you? And you can kind of see where this is going. So a few years ago on September 10th, before the case, I think it was 2011 or 12, their daughter was getting ready to go back to college, and she went to Boston with her boyfriend. That was one of the things she wanted to do, is take some pictures on top of one of the buildings. So they went to the top of abandoned skyscraper, and unfortunately she fell through an air conditioning duct into a room with no windows or doors. And the boyfriend claimed that he had a full conversation with her, saying that she was okay. She was yelling up, "I'm okay. I'm in a room with no windows and doors. You have to tell the firemen so they know how to find me." Well, they ended up getting to her a couple hours later and said she passed away instantly. There's no way she survived the fall. So just that conversation that she had with the boyfriend was paranormal in itself. So September 10th, that's the day that this happened. So the clip, we were able to get the word September. I don't think we got the 10th part.
It's a little hard to hear on the recorder, but it's there.
Definitely,
it's there.
Yeah. You can definitely hear something.
All right. Well, let's take a listen. Let me reshare this. Okay. And then let's have a listen. Here is that audio.
Repeat 3 times. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
September.
That's good.
Yeah. So The family definitely recognized that it was her voice. Unfortunately, that was in 2015, so my recorder wasn't what it is today. But yeah, they definitely brought some closure to them, knowing that she's around, because they didn't think she was.
Oh my goodness!
Right.
Wow.
And you can clearly hear that, and it was really nice that you did repeat it at the end there those 3 times, because that helped draw attention to it. But yeah, you're right, it's there. It is definitely there.
Yeah.
And that's, and you talked about educating the people who are new. That's a great educational tool right there. The repeating part of it speaks to the learned part of doing this kind of stuff too, because we have an inborn pattern recognition thing. I've talked about this before. People go, I think it's like a cop out. You have to learn how to listen to this stuff. You really do have to learn how to listen to it. I always say it's like if you flew over terrain you never saw before, you wouldn't recognize anything. You fly over it again, you start picking out reference points, and then every pass over that area, you start picking up more and more. You put the pieces together. So I think that repeating it is a great tool for finding it and then enforcing the listening of it also too. That was really good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree. I agree. Plus, like you said, it helps call out attention to exactly the spot your attention should be drawn to. Ron, I know you do that a lot on your DRV videos as well. You'll repeat it a couple of times so that can sink in. So yeah, guys, that was great.
It bridges the gap between the people who have listened to so much evidence and the people who might be newer to it. And that's what I love about already on the first clip is it's digestible to any level of experience. They can hear that, they can acknowledge it, and they can hear it and know it. That's awesome.
I agree.
Yep.
All right. So the next one I'm going to play is titled, let's see, Lizzie Borden, Bed and Breakfast Wave.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. So I was there with Rise Up. Leanne, unfortunately, God rest her soul, she just passed away not too long ago, but she was one of the owners for Lizzie's for the longest time.
Yeah.
And she had invited us in to do some fundraising investigations for the mascot of the house was a black cat named Max. And so he was, had some veterinary bills. So we were doing some public investigations. And I had recorded this clip. You'll hear Ken DaCosta's voice say, we would like to hear something like, we would like to hear the real voice of Andrew Borden. And then we got this clip. And everything was silent. And it's really remarkable.
It's a strange clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one actually is really, really good. And so let me play that for you now. As soon as I share screen again, make sure I have audio selected.
Suspense, Tony. The suspense.
I know. I'm building that.
Well,
Building that anticipation.
that's right.
All right, here is that clip.
I would like to hear what the famous Andrew Borden's voice sounds like.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really good.
So thankfully, we have some, software that's able to remove some of the noise, which is why you kind of have that tinny sound in the background. But it was pretty clear to begin with, and it's even clearer in there. There is some controversy on what's believed is being said. Some people hear different things, but there's definitely a voice there in the end.
Right.
Yeah.
There is no doubt a voice there, and
Absolutely.
from a timing and relevance standpoint, to me, it is answering the questions. Let me play that one more time because
Yes, please.
that's awesome. Here it is.
Yes, yes,
I
please.
would like to hear what the famous Andrew Borden's voice sounds like.
I can talk, maybe, is what it's saying.
I'm hearing something like "I didn't know" or
Yeah.
something. No, maybe, but it's definitely speech. There's no doubt about it. It is
Right.
definitely responding to Ken's question asked, and that's incredible.
Well, and time frame relevance too. You think back before he was murdered, they pronunciated their words, unlike today where we use a lot of slang and we tend to draw words out. He was very mean, we can't.
Articulate.
He was very articulate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love the use of the software. That's another thing too that I speak about a lot of times is you can clean up and improve the quality of audio evidence, or you completely bastardize it if you go too far.
Right.
It is a skill, and so that to me sounded like a really nice enhancement. It didn't distort. It cleared it up nicely.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
very nice.
It was good.
Cody's
It was good. And like I said, I mean, I'm looking at the audience remarks, and they're saying they hear everything from "I pity you," "Eat at Joe's."
Here's the best one.
"See you all." But the point is though that nobody's arguing that it's not speech. I mean, it is
Right.
speech. It's male voice. It's a deeper voice. It's responding with vocal tonality,
Authority.
regardless of whether you can pick out every single word. It's speech, and it's answering a question being asked. So to me, that's fantastic.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And you could take that vocal and the same software, I'm sure, whatever you use, you could do a voice print where you could say a variety of the things you think you're hearing, and then you can match it on the spectrograph, and whichever one matches the print would be the one you have, or at least the closest print would be the more likely candidate for it.
Yeah,
but that's definitely an anomalous voice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely not me again either. That's for sure. I don't
Right.
know.
too low of a voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if you look at timing relevance too, gentlemen from that era always seem to have a deeper voice. I mean, they were drinkers, they were smokers. It wasn't something that was uncommon, because back then it wasn't as hazardous to your health as it is today. To where
Well,
some of our voices,
so it didn't matter.
to where like my voice is not that deep because we've tried to live healthier lives nowadays. But back then, you notice that some of those gentlemen from that area always had deeper, more solid authoritarian voices. So
You didn't say midnight tokers, though, Chris. You did not say
midnight tokers.
All right.
Yeah, that's great. That's clearly an anomalous capture and very well enunciated too. That's
Yeah, it is. All right. So the next one I'm going to play is titled Andrea Perrin, and it looks like it's titled Bathsheba's Grave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some big,
Yeah. This is a good one. So
This is one of the best audio I've ever heard.
yeah, I definitely
I
tried to-
love this one. I
Yeah.
love this one.
So Andrea was in town. I think, geez, it had to be at least 5 or 6 years ago now, and she had invited myself and a couple other people from TAPS. It was Steve and Joe Chin, and we went out there. And of course, I brought all my audio equipment, and I had a directional mic that was pointing straight at Andrea, and we just said, all right, tell us some stories, and you'll hear Andrea talking and how the spirits were protecting. They believe the spirits were protecting her and her family, and talking about some boys that visited the farm. And we're standing right in front of Bathsheba's gravesite in the cemetery. And this one is very well pronounced. I'll say we didn't hear anything at all.
They just keep talking. And what's strange is we don't know if it's a residual sound because it sounds very echoey and very distant, or if it's an intelligent, like, you can finally hear me kind of sound. So we don't really know.
Yes, yeah, and I believe this one's featured in that new documentary that Andrea has been sharing, and that just came out in Canada. So they just featured that. One of my best clips that I've recorded so far. So yeah,
This one is fantastic. I'll play this one more than once. So if you somehow miss it the first time I play it, don't panic. I will play it again. But this one is amazing. So let me get this queued up.
yeah, I don't think this one needed the 3-time repeat at the end.
It's awesome though.
Yeah.
All right, here is that clip.
And was death. It was death. He was completely surrounded with death. Well, he didn't understand that the spirits, especially the female spirits, would protect us from the unsavory males that would come around. And not that Freddie was lovely.
Wow.
that was a lot of vocal tone.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That was singing.
Well, it's almost like she's screaming it from a distance.
Right.
And that's what I found so fascinating about it.
Yep.
Normally some EVPs, they're whispers and they sound like they're 2 inches from the mic. This one literally sounds like she's far away and trying to project her voice to make sure the recorder hits it.
It sounds a lot like somebody screaming Bathsheba from a distance.
Yeah, it's definitely like right in the background, and nobody obviously reacted to it. We definitely, and I talked to everybody. We don't remember hearing anything like that at all, and it was only on this recorder too. So that was another thing.
Okay.
That's
Love when that
So
happened.
you had other recorders running, and it only showed up on this one.
Yeah, I personally had two, but we had them triangulated around the whole area. And
Okay, well then that definitely puts it in the paranormal side because the
Paranormal
physics of the sound
160.
wave, right?
Well,
the physics of the sound wave.
Let's add a little intrigue to that. Which recorder was it picked up on?
So what I will say is it was picked up on the only recorder. So I had a condenser microphone plugged into my recorder and the input, and that's the only I had a dynamic microphone plugged in, and all the other recorders were condenser microphones. So could that be a possibility? But I was using a Zoom H4 that has inputs in different channels
in the triangular area where we're...
it was the one that I was pointing the mic directly at Andrea while she was talking. That was my goal. So it was the one I was holding in my hand on a vibration mount, and microphone in the other hand pointing straight at her, and that's the only one that caught it.
So
you're outdoors.
Outdoors, yeah, right in front of her gravesite.
What time of year?
I think it was July. I think.
Okay.
It was July.
So and then to add a little bit more to that, it wasn't picked up. Regardless of microphone, it wasn't picked up on the ones behind her. It was picked up on the one directly in front of her.
Yes.
Which is interesting because if she was yelling it from a distance, you think it would have been picked up on the distance ones, not the one closer to you, which is even more intriguing.
Right.
Yeah,
and the physics behind a sound wave, how far apart were the recorders? Feet?
Yeah, I want to say like I don't know, 15 feet each.
Okay. Yeah, the physics of a sound wave would have hit every single one of those.
Every single one of them, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Even if it was maybe not as loud with a different type of mic, it still would have been there. And the fact that it wasn't tells me that this is probably paranormal. So let me play this again because you really need to listen to that scream, because the fact that it pronounces Bathsheba so clearly, it is awesome. So here it comes again.
And was death. It was death. He was completely surrounded with death. Well, he didn't understand that the spirits, especially the female spirits, would protect us from the unsavory males that would come around. 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 And not that Freddie was lovely.
You can't miss that.
No, you cannot. And that's absolutely that's absolutely paranormal effect, because if it was ambient sound, you'd have gotten some modicum of audio on all the recorders that were in close enough proximity to it. For one, it's sound is created, like Tony was talking about the physics, created by a disturbance in the air, and it'll propagate until it gets coherency and evenness when it runs out of steam. So at some point, if one of the recorders was close enough to get that vibrational disturbance, another one would have had to get it if it was ambient sound. And nobody reacted to it whatsoever.
Right.
Well, and the echo portion of it is also a significant portion of it too, is because if there was an echo in the microphone that you picked it up on, then everything would have been echoing. Andrea's voice would have been echoing. It wasn't. It was just that EVP that you picked up.
Yeah.
That's a good one for sure.
Yeah, that is a fantastic catch for audio for people watching who want to do this stuff. That is one of those brass ring moments. I think that's not. We always say that's not pedestrian level evidence whatsoever. That's top notch.
Right.
And there's another significant statement there. It was immediately after Andrea said the female was protecting us.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's almost like that's right here. The female protecting is Bathsheba. That's fantastic.
Yeah, there's some personal stuff there too, because I mean, most people, because of what Hollywood did, Bathsheba kind of got a negative name, and Andrea is the first one to let you know that is not the case, and she's always backed her and stood up for her and protected her, like exactly what Andrea does. But I could clearly see Bathsheba screaming out, letting her know that, you know what, I got your back too.
Yeah, girl power, man.
Right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Andre has been known to get a spirit voice or two in her day.
Just a little. Yeah, one or two. Yep. That's awesome, though.
Great.
But the clip I'm going to play next
Okay.
Jeez.
really, to me, defines what these two are capable of and what they bring to the table, not only independently, but as the paranormal couple. So the next one I'm going to play is a video, and it's I think about 4 minutes long. I'm going to play the whole thing because you have to see this. You just have to. So let me get this set up.
Just so everybody knows before this is viewed, this was something that we did keep a secret for quite a couple of years before we came out about it, because we didn't know how people were going to take it. We don't know if it's an energy thing. We don't really know much about it. But
Yes, and definitely, if you want to learn more, check out the Dead Air interview that Ken and George's show on KGRA, and definitely check that out for more information for sure.
And yes, before anybody asks, my dad has seen it. My dad has seen this. Yes.
Has this passed the Jason Hawes test?
Yes, it has. At first,
All right.
I was very confused. I'll say that, but yes, it has passed the test.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Here is that first video clip.
Tony say awesome or awesome?
Awesome.
Better say
Because
awesome.
they're both applicable, I think, at this point.
I agree.
I hear it.
I hear it.
Hold on. Wait a minute. It's not playing. I don't know what happened. Hold on.
Tony, you're supposed to share it with us.
Well, I guess I could do that too. As soon as I can figure out why it's not playing. Hold on 1 second.
Tony's just sitting there enjoying the show on his own.
Hold on. Let me.
Honestly, I thought you guys can't watch it.
I was wondering why you guys were talking over it.
That's weird. Yeah.
All right, hold on. I don't know what happened. The problem was normally I load these right into StreamYard, but they were over the size limitation for StreamYard, so I have to share them. So let me try that again.
Interesting.
I was wondering why you guys were talking over it. I'm like, this is a good part. Probably because you couldn't hear it.
Tony's over there going, "You guys should see this shit. It's fantastic."
All right, let's try this again.
That's funny. Yeah,
Okay, there we go. And now let's play the video.
There we go.
Are you with the lodge? 1 for yes, 2 for no? Yes, okay. So, I was wondering, could we get maybe a first name? If I go through the alphabet and I get to the letter of your name, you knock, and then I'll restart and we'll spell out a name, okay? So I'll start going through. Are you ready? Give us your first name. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, J. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, O. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Jonathan? No. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. Is that
John?
just John? Oh, I'm sorry. Could I get maybe a last name with that? If you're comfortable? Just so we can know. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G. Roger. Okay, John Rogers. Well, it's very nice to meet you, John.
Are you looking for somebody?
What for us to put on video again? Okay.
Somebody that's alive?
Okay, can you give me their name so I know who to look for? Was it the last name Rogers too? Okay, first name. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, A, B, D, E, F, G.
March. No.
A, B, C,
Margaret? Is that what you said? Margaret.
Margaret. Okay. What do you want to say to Margaret? You tell me how many words. Okay. First word, how many letters? I. No. A. M. Okay. Okay. See if we can pass that message along for you, okay? Okay, we're gonna take a little break, all right? Okay, bye. All right, yeah, break. All right. So, John Rogers is looking for Margaret Rogers.
Margaret Rogers.
Wow.
So there's going to be a lot of questions from people in chat probably right now.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So what happened was, I want to say 3 years ago, when Satori
August
and
of
myself,
2018,
Yeah.
first day we met.
and Satori, just a brief synopsis. Like I said, if you're really interested, we tell the whole story in Ken and George's interview on Dead Air Paranormal Network there, Full Spectrum. But quick synopsis, about 3 years ago, Satori and myself, we first met, first case, we go overnight, and, we start noticing that, this place is really active. There's a lot of those same footstep sounds and stuff like that. So we stayed up the whole night, and we found.
Well, we realized it was happening everywhere, and then during an overnight case, we realized it was okay. This is us when we have contact.
Right. So it's only when we hold hands or the wrist seemed like a better connection point for some reason, and I think it's truly when two living energies meet and they fit together like a perfect puzzle piece. I think it's like flipping on a light switch to the other side that can draw this stuff in, and it's just been incredible when things line up and that works.
And we don't do it for any financial gain. We don't do it for anything like that. It was something we had to keep a secret for a while because we were afraid that, somebody was going to come through and say, okay, this is wrong because, or we didn't want to cause problems. So we kept it a secret because we didn't think anybody was ready for it yet. But then, we started realizing how many people we were helping with this. We were getting messages to the living from people, people we've never met before. We've had to send messages to like that. That was actually confirmed. We can't give that away, but Ken DaCosta was able to confirm, death dates. We got dates that were confirmed, names that were confirmed, things like that. So that's what we use it for now.
Yeah. And we have no control. I mean, we're not like we can't see these people.
We're as psychic as a bag of rocks. I can't tell you what I'm feeling.
I have no idea. And I've always been a very, fact-based and technical, based investigator. And I was never, truly into the metaphysical side of things. But this kind of opened up a whole new door that I never expected.
It jives with all that stuff, Cody. It jives with all that stuff big time, too, because there's studies of what's called the collective consciousness, which is everything bound together. And then Rupert Sheldrake of the Society of Psychical Research, who sat in on the skull experiment, would call that morphogenic field. So you guys were creating what is tantamount to a human circuit, right? Joining and creating that energy, and there's an openness to the two of you. And then even too, if you're familiar with the psychic lawyer Mark Anthony, he talked about Tony Esau with the pineal gland having magnetite and calcite, which has an electromagnetic field to it. And so you were adding a lot of what was tech biologically to the equation, plus your openness. That is a fantastic display, not only of evidence, but of ingenuity and selflessness to do it. That's awesome.
That's crazy.
If you guys could tell us how it works, that'd be great, because we don't know how it works, and anybody that's asking us to teach them how it works, we don't know.
That is the challenge with the paranormal, is that most of the variables are still behind that wall and not available to us to figure out. So being able to say, I know how that works versus we don't know what's happening or how it works, pretty common still today, because most of those variables are still hidden, but phenomenal stuff. And so the
biggest thing about that, Tony, real quick, is that was the perfect example of an intelligent response for 4 minutes straight. Nobody could watch that video, see what you guys did in that experiment, got the words and the phrases that you got, and say that wasn't an intelligent response by something paranormal. Nobody on this earth could say that.
Especially after you corroborate it. Especially after you corroborate that with names and other information that matches up to it.
If you watch Ken's show that they were talking about, where I originally saw this, they literally had him spell out his date that he died, and he gave them the date and the day, and then they were able to find the obituary, and it was a match to the T.
Wow.
Based off of the knocking and them counting and throwing out the dates for him to respond with a knock to. It was amazing. Yeah, so for anybody who hasn't seen that, if you go to I think it's still called the Paranormal Channel, basically Ken DaCosta, George Lopez show, Dead Air, Satori and Cody are on that, and they go into a little more detail on that particular clip. If you do have an interest in it, I highly suggest you check it out. Ken and George do a great show as well, also here on KGRA. But the next clip I'm going to play is basically almost a continuation of the one that we watched, or at least the same night it appeared. And it shows more of the connection between Satori and Cody and how that interacts. So let me pull that up.
Yeah. I think this is the connection one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just
correct.
To show you how it works.
All right. So here is that clip.
Yeah, I moved this one already.
Ooh. Okay. If you're here, can you stomp your feet as soon as I make contact with Cody? Ready? I want to show them something. You ready? All right. So, wait. Please. Can I have your attention? Please. You can stop. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. Interactive, completely interactive in the moment. Wow. That's not residual by any stretch.
No. And that's kind of weird what Audra just pointed out. She said it almost sounds like a baby's heartbeat on an ultrasound.
Yes, it sounds different depending on locations too. Like the floor, we've done it outside, we've done it on hardwood, on cement, like things like that. It sounds different.
Yeah, you definitely have to be there in person, because you can hear direction on when something's walking in.
Wow.
So if you watch that episode, Ken shows a clip on when he tried walking over to the sound. And the sound just you can hear footsteps.
They walked away from him. You hear it walk around to the other side. So
wow.
No idea how it works. That's all. I mean,
we can't control them. So we've gone places where, you know, we thought we would get something and nothing happens. It just depends on if somebody wants to talk to you in that way, they will.
That's so true. That's a great point. It's not something that can be controlled or forced. It occurs when they allow it to or when they want it to, and no other time in between. So great point. Yeah, you don't have control over it. It just happens where it happens. But with that said, I'm just taking a look at the time. Anybody who is listening via KGRA is going to switch over to their next program that comes up at the top of the hour. This program will continue. We've got another piece of evidence that we're going to continue to go through, and you're not going to want to miss this one. So if you're listening on the KGRA audio or radio show, switch over to either the Facebook or the YouTube, because this show is going to continue. And if you leave to go on to the next show, enjoy. If you come over and follow the rest of this, you're not going to regret it. So, okay.
Yes.
I actually have a question on that too. Have you guys ever, in a situation when you're on a floor that has vibration, obviously it might be harder on dirt, have you ever used like a geophone or something that measures vibration to tell where the footsteps actually are or see them traveling, shadow tracker or something like that?
Yes. Yeah. We have set up geophones, and they sometimes register and they sometimes don't. I mean, I think it all depends on the energy, I guess. I mean, we've had them set, you know, directly on where we think the sound is coming from, and sometimes it just hasn't gone off.
Also, strangely enough, we've had equipment like REM pods between us and K2 meters leading in and out of our surrounding spaces. And on some occasions, many occasions, we actually have them go off in the direction where the footsteps are coming in. So you'll like see, it'll just kind of add evidence to the pile that you'll see that's kind of consistently going off. It's happened on certain occasions also.
Yeah.
I love that element of mystery that adds to it, because audible stuff sometimes is happening to our materialistic world where it's measurable and you can feel and record the sound. But sometimes you get sounds audibly that are not in league with our laws of physics and nature and whatever else. And the sound itself is coming from somewhere, and it's not going to register on that device, but it's still, maybe you'll record the sound, but the vibration won't register. So that's interesting that you would have those kind of reactions to using the equipment with that.
Right. Well, and to go to the metaphysical side of it, which is where I like to stay, that's somewhat of my realm, is the connection that you two have that draw these spirits in to connect with you and to communicate is huge. And that's not something you'd want to lose. And I would love to see a video of you two doing those experiments on the Queen Mary. That would be phenomenal.
My favorite place.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great place.
Sure. But yeah, we would love to. We've noticed that everybody that comes through seems to have a specific message for somebody, and you know that's only a portion of the conversation. I mean, 3 people ended up coming through that night, all giving their names and messages for people that are still alive. So it's definitely a sensitive situation where, for privacy reasons, we had to, we're not going to show all of it, but
We've also had funny cases where we've done this and somebody from, a long time ago will come through and they try talking to us and it's just like, how is this working? What's going on here? This is witchcraft. What am I doing here? Like, you hear how they talk. We had to have a conversation one time at the Conjuring House, and it took us 5 minutes to realize that it wasn't called a basement to this person from the 1700s. It's called a cellar. So he wouldn't answer anything we said until we used cellar. So it's funny like that. You hear different characteristics.
Yeah.
Oh.
Any measurable or notable physical changes, like after you do that? Do you feel like there's a level of channeling involved a little bit to that? Do you feel something like a drain maybe afterwards?
Yeah, so we both feel it. We both feel it differently. I feel it, and the only way I can compare it is to like a shin splint type feelings.
Wow.
Area, and then Satori definitely gets the headache and like a C-ship type.
I feel like I'm on a boat and I feel a pain in my head in certain parts of my head.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, I noticed somebody asked if we still get responses if I do the alphabet or whatever, and we do. Satori's just better at doing the alphabet than me, and I just focus on really just putting my energy out and I don't know, just kind of focusing in on what's going on.
It's a very interesting thing that you say that. It's Cody gets the shin splints feelings, and then Satori, you feel like you have a pain in your head. So anybody that's been through an electronic shock, a lot of people will feel it towards their feet and in their shin splints, and a lot of people will feel the residual effects during their head in their head, and it all depends on which way the current is traveling. So from what it sounds like, you guys are creating a circuit.
Wow.
And the leftover residue from that energy circuit that you guys are experiencing in two different spots because that's the way the current is traveling. That is fantastic portion of your evidence.
Yeah, that's
that is Chris Allgood pointing out things that most human beings would not even notice.
That's true.
God, Chris, that was great.
He's right. He's right. There are some studies of consciousness that talk about near-death experiences too, where things happening could be an after firing of the energy still, even though the battery, so to speak, is shut down. But there's still that circuit, there's still that connection. There's a little bit of energy left in the tank that's kind of dispersed.
Yeah, so that happened to me too. I died for 4 minutes when I had cancer, and you know I was allergic to a drug. And
they lost him on the table.
Yeah, so that was back in 2014. So some people have speculated that
that's part of it.
That's part of it, but I don't know. I just don't know.
I think it's part of it. I just don't know what I played it yet because it's only when we're together. So we're trying to figure that out currently. But we know I feel like part of it is definitely him.
Yeah,
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, I really do.
It is. Yep.
Really
yeah,
good.
clearly the combination. But I've heard that I was one of the first groups I was with when I started. I lived in Southern California, and the gentleman who was one of the heads of the group had a near-death experience from Lyme disease and something else at the same time. And anytime we went anywhere, like 99% of the time, he was the one that was affected or afflicted or scratched or whatever. Like a lot of stuff happened to him. He seemed to be more recognizable, visual, whatever, to whatever was in that environment.
Wow,
Sure.
That's so interesting.
Well, I can speak from experience myself. I mean, I've been somewhat sensitive my entire life, but back in 2018, I had a 2.5-hour massive heart attack that should have killed me.
Oh,
And ever since that day, the experience and the energy that I feel inside of a location, I will walk the location by myself and say, this is where we need to replace our equipment. And we catch stuff. And I'm not trying to brag. It's just that near-death experience really opened my eyes. I should say my spiritual eyes a hell of a lot more than ever before. It was my third eye.
I can attest to that. I've seen Chris operate and literally walk into a room and be like, there's a woman in here. And then we play the recorder back and the woman's going, he's right. And I'm like,
That's amazing.
so he does have that ability. I've seen him do it.
That's incredible.
But I do want to play one more clip. And this, I'm definitely going to play more than once because people are going to go, play that again, play that again. But this is an item in the museum behind them right at the moment. And I believe this doll's name is Lisa, correct?
Liza. Yeah.
Liza.
Yeah.
Yep, Liza. So before I play this, where did this doll come from? How did you acquire it? And after this video, why are you still keeping it?
So Liza was given to us by a man who had contacted Cody after a podcast. And pretty much all he would say is, make it stop, make it stop. He was saying he was hearing voices in his head. He had an item that was talking to him, telling him to hurt himself and other people. So a red flag went up for us. We were wondering maybe this is a psychological thing. Maybe something's going on and he's kind of going off the deep end. So
right.
we tried everything we could to get him in touch with people and get advice from people, see if he's mentally sound. And people that were, checking it out said that he seemed to check out. He was okay. He was just going through a really tough time right now. His life was kind of going downhill. So we decided to ask him more about this item. He said this doll's kind of taking over his life. We asked him, sir, we don't promote the destruction of objects, but why didn't you throw it out or get rid of it if it was causing you that much trouble? He said, I did. She just keeps coming back. What he meant by that was he had thrown her in the dumpster and the garbage man felt compelled to take her out of the dumpster and put her back on the porch for him to find. So he felt that he couldn't get rid of her. So we did meet him in a public place to take it off his hands. And he wouldn't tell us where he had obtained it before. So that makes us feel better.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So for those of you that know, we are the curators of a museum. We have close to 400 objects in the museum currently from around the world. And this is probably the one that definitely is the most active out of the ones we have. We have tons of objects, but we definitely don't believe that something is still with everything that's here.
Let me give you an example. We had her in a case in a doll section in the museum, and the guy disappeared after he gave it to us. We haven't been able to contact him since. We put her in the doll section. All the dolls' heads would turn around 180 degrees backwards. And this happened a couple times till we realized her head was the only one that wouldn't turn around, and they were all facing away from her. So when we moved her away and put her on the shelf, because she kept getting out of her case anyway, she stayed there and the dolls stopped moving.
Wow.
And that's where she likes it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Let me, before we give away too much, let me play this clip. All right. Here is that clip. All right. Keep your eyes open. Here it comes.
Whoa.
This isn't sped up. She moved very, very fast.
She's like levitating.
She's sitting up straight.
No, but she's levitating though.
This is at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, going against gravity, which freaks me out.
Okay,
the most.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
she's
She is
levitating.
moving against gravity.
Wow.
She's not sinking down. She's not lowering into the, she's coming up. Almost,
Right.
it's not just an R movement. It is a complete re-body positioning, and almost as if she took a breath. You can see that, and then sort of got comfortable again. Let me play that one more time.
Yeah, that was like haunted yoga.
What the hell? Whoa.
And nothing else is moving. Nothing else is
No.
moving.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
What do they do at a concert when they want more?
Yeah. So yeah, we recorded her moving a few times, and that's probably the best one out of the times we recorded her. And we have security system set up throughout the whole, and we have different sections of the museum. We have travel section, doll section, and everything else. And she's the one who definitely likes to show off, I guess, for some reason.
And hopefully in the near future, we will have a set location where everyone can view these objects safely in their environment.
Right, yeah.
And things like that, too.
Yeah, currently we travel around with about 150 of them, and each of them have exhibits that tell their stories. My main thing is to tell the stories, no matter if it has activity or not. Tell the stories of the object and keep the history alive. And if there's a person's name mentioned, that was a living person at one time, and trying to keep their name alive and just keep the history of the object and maybe teach somebody something that they may have not have known about history before.
And tell people that it may not always be demons, because a lot of people like to assume it's always demons. So
yeah, but by our what we've done, and by our research and investigative tactics, we found that most of the objects we have were just objects that people loved in life. They really loved them during life.
Most of the people we talk to are just people. They're
Yeah,
just people.
I don't think they're trapped inside of them or anything like that. I think they just kind of check in on their object once in a while, see how it's doing, and then go off and do whatever spirits do on the other side. But with Liza's case, it seems like there's something always there. Is it bad? I think maybe she has a bad attitude in life. Maybe. I don't think she was a demon or anything like that. I think she just had a bad attitude and maybe didn't like the person that she was living with, which is why she was causing him some havoc. We had a psychologist do a preliminary analysis over him, and everything seemed okay from her standpoint.
Wow.
Interesting.
absolutely just fascinating. But you're right. You know, the one bad thing that television did do is kind of make people think anything in the paranormal is all demons and so that's kind of the negative. But let's face it, it's television. Demons sell.
And this is why this is why you got to stay on your path and do it for the reasons you're doing it too, because there's going to be a contingency of people out there. I always say this: if Bigfoot handed them their car keys, they wouldn't believe in him. So you have to. There's going to be some people who are going to think it's rigged. They're going to think it's hoax. They're not going to buy into it. That it doesn't matter. There's always going to be a contingency of those people. The whole globe is not going to hold hands and sing everything's paranormal, kumbaya anytime soon. But if you know you're doing stuff with integrity and the people you know respect and trust your methods and what you do, that is all you need.
That's what matters. Yeah, that's what matters.
Absolutely. And, you know, unfortunately, the field will never, go forward. A lot of people, they're always like, we need to keep doing this to hopefully get science to pay attention to us someday. And unfortunately, stuff like faking things and stuff like that isn't going to help.
Not at all.
And that's a big. So I'm sorry because every time that comes up, it's like a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
People who are anti-paranormal refer to science like it's one guy. It's like saying, like, when I was in school, I thought sex ed was one person with a lot of good luck. It's not the case. Science is there's people in science who are very much in favor of this. ITC was coined by a guy who was a physicist. There are people in all different branches of science who are on the side of paranormality, and there are people who don't buy into it either. And some of it's dogmatic and some of it's experience-wise, but there is science to back up the stuff that you're doing, the stuff that you've shown, and the stuff that you probably have that we haven't even seen. There is. Science is a method of inquiry. It's not an ideology. And I think when people realize that, they'll understand how this stuff works.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a very great point. And, science has made some good progress in the last 5-10 years. And there are disciplines of science. You got to look across the entire board because there's so many different types. But there's a lot of support to the fact that, consciousness survives death and, energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only change form. They're starting to take a look. And, hopefully someday some of those variables that we can answer, science will say, okay, here's what we think's going on, and we can then test it and move another step forward. But it will happen eventually, I think. And I think people like the investigators that are out there, people like Satori and Cody who are doing what they're doing, those are the true people that are going to push science to take another look. And so I can't thank you two enough for what you're doing, what you've shared with us tonight, what you've shared with our audience. And all I can say is keep it up, because what you're doing is working. You guys are doing a great job, and you're taking those leaps and bounds to push this field forward. So that's awesome.
Yeah, the more of it, the better. I always say too that if you look at science in evaluating this stuff, has a lot of theory and anecdote, and it's like definitions that can be fluid, but the data on EVPs, audible stuff, visual phenomena across teams all over the world, the characteristics of the data is comparable everywhere. And when you have consistency of data, you have reliability and stability in data. So absolutely, in my opinion, people like you and people like my colleagues here are moving the field more than science is. Science, I think, needs to catch up to you.
Thank you.
Us.
Just awesome. So a couple of thank yous. Thank you to Satori and Cody for coming on tonight, for sharing that great stuff.
Very much.
I want to say thank you to everyone in our audience. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. I want to say thank you to KGRA, to our producer, Bill, and of course to the EVPI team. This was fantastic. And I'm going to turn it over to Chris to give our closing line. Or Audra, whoever wants to fight.
No, you got this.
You got it? All right.
Come on, Chris.
The paranormal has been around since the beginning of time. And no matter how we investigate it, whether it's through EVPs, whether it's through ITC or DRV, or whether it's through an energy connection like Satori and Cody, there is one thing that has to stay consistent in the paranormal. You have to stay haunted.
Stay haunted.
Have a good night, guys.